I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review for a film that I'm sure I'm the only person that enjoys this movie, and that's cool. Because anywhere I look on YouTube, like this film is getting so much hell, and I just don't get it. But I mean, it's not my job to get it. That's what different opinions are for. But it's a film called Don't Let Go, and this is a movie that I enjoyed the trailer. Concept seemed interesting. Came out at the end of August, but it was nowhere around here. And then, funny jumping ahead, I saw the film, I liked it. I went to Walmart maybe to buy it on Blu-ray. Nowhere to be found. Not even at Walmart have they. It's like Blumhouse, the company that produces, just buried this fucking film. I guess they're too concentrated on films like Us, where people join their hands across America as if it's going to be a McDonald's commercial. But hey, why didn't you review it? Because I didn't see it all the way through. I saw bits and pieces in the ending. I'm like, fuck this. I don't care. But get into this. The plot is kind of a spiritual sequel to Frequency. For those who don't know what Frequency, that's a film starring Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel. And granted, I would put Frequency well above this, don't get me wrong, but it was a father and son separated by about 30 years or so, and they taught through this radio. It's very heartfelt, very dramatic. Again, this isn't as good as Frequency, but it's still an interesting concept. And a concept I gravitate more towards yet another superhero comic book reboot, superhero movie or reboot, prequel, quequel, I don't know what the fuck a quequel is, squeakquel, whatever the hell. Rise of Skywalker, Rise of Shitwalker, yeah, stuff like that. Now, I thought the performances by the two leads, the lead guy, David Oyelowo, butchered his last name. He played Martin Luther King Jr. in a film called Selma. He was really good as a cop. His niece, played by Storm Reid, the character of Ashley, she did a really good job. I thought they both worked very well. It gave the film a good heart on its shoulder. Considering as Blumhouse, this does not have a bullshit ending. Because a lot of times the Blumhouse films do, but this doesn't, and I thought it was satisfying. The gist of the plot is the cop, Detective Jack, played by David Oyelowo. I'll just say David, because I can't say his last name, I'm butchering it. David as Detective Jack, Jack Radcliffe, goes home one day, and he finds his brother, his sister-in-law, and his niece murdered. I thought the scene was very effective. The music, I really got to give credit to the music. Ethan Gold did a really good job on the score. The score fit the film very well, and solid. Like that scene, for example, gave a good foreboding feel. And like the one flaw I'll give the film, it is a predictable film. I can't say you're not going to see this coming. It's a predictable movie. I'll give you that. That's a flaw I could say for the movie. But it wasn't a movie killer for me. It's predictable, but at the same time, I'm glad for their direction and went in. Because there's so many films that go into the, what? It's like, so what the fuck takes you out of the movie, or so downbeat it makes you feel like you wasted your time. Like this one shitty sounding movie called The Headhunter that my good friend Mykelti saw. That sounds like dog shit. But I mean, like him and other people, they were not fans of this movie. That's cool. Again, I'm probably the only guy that liked this film. Because, again, the plot, his family's dead. Those three, he's upset, he's sad. His partner is played by Williamson. Nice to see him in the movie. I remember him. He was Bubba Gump and Forrest Gump. He was also, for a little bit, Lou Diamond Phillips' partner in The First Power. Williamson is a good actor, and he plays the lead guy's partner. And our lead is talking about, man, he wishes he could have a second chance. He would pray to God to have a second chance. And ultimately he does. His phone rings, and it's his niece, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And he's able to talk to the past. Kind of like Frequency. And I enjoy that concept. And then it's pretty much trying to solve her upcoming murder of her and her family. And I just disagree with a lot of people hating on this film. It is cool if they hate it. I just disagree. People talk about how it's a confusing film. I don't see where they're coming from. I was not confused at all. I understood everything that was going on. I know a good friend of mine didn't like the fact that it doesn't explain how this is happening. To be honest, number one, it kind of does. And two, even if it didn't, doesn't matter to me, because there's plenty of other films and TV shows that have done the same thing. Because in a way, you're dealing with time, not travel, but when you deal with time, there's always going to be weird kinks in it. Hell, look at the Terminator. You just say, well, how come Kyle Reese is the father of John Connor, but yet John Connor hasn't been born? Okay, he hasn't been born. Well, Kyle Reese hasn't been born. So if Kyle Reese hasn't been born, how is he the father of John Connor, who is in the future, and then sends Kyle Reese back, but Kyle Reese hasn't been born to become John Connor's father? And then you go into, well, causality and time loops and paradoxes, and you're like, okay, it's fucking time travel. Time Cop. I love Time Cop. But then he's like, well, what about this and this? Why don't they just kill John Claude Van Damme's character when he was a kid? And then Max Walker won't fuck with them. Why don't they kill Sarah Connor when she's a kid? Although they kind of did that with Terminator's Jenna shits. I mean, that's with time. And also with... I thought the explanation they had, I was satisfied with. It might be too simple, but no matter what you have an explanation for, it'd be bullshit. I mean, I love Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, but it's a phone booth that goes back to time. It's bullshit, but it's still a fun movie. Back to the Future. What the fuck is a flux capacitor? It's bullshit. It's a thing that looks like a Y of the YMCA with lights on it, but it's still a great movie. But it's bullshit. It's still a great movie. Time Cop, they don't really explain really how time travel was created. They just go, someone created it, and now people are using it. And then the machine, you get in, and it's like a roller coaster. You go forward to a wall, and there's a ripple. Do they really explain how they go back in time? No. But it doesn't matter, because it's still a great movie. Even if you want to take that other genres, Michael Myers, do they explain why Michael Myers is so crazy? Why is he crazy? Why is he killing people? How could he survive 6 shots? No, they don't. And the mystery is fine. And Halloween 6, Chris and Michael Myers don't count. Because I hate that movie. If you like that movie, cool, but I hate that movie. Paul Rudd stopping Michael Myers with magic stones. And Paul Rudd is like... So again, I know people are like, well, it doesn't really explain it. Well, to me it did, and then even if it didn't, I still love Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, but they don't explain why he goes back. I mean, there's plenty of TV shows like Twilight Zone, Outer Limits that did that. So I just don't see that complaint. I don't understand that complaint, but again, that's fine. Oh, I'm sorry, we disagree, so we can't be friends. For anyone who disagrees with me, we can't be friends because. But seriously, I mean, I disagree with that complaint, but to each their own. Critics say it has an inconsistent tone. I have no idea what they're talking about. To me, The Predator would be an inconsistent tone, where it's The Predator, but it's a fucking comedy. Like, to me, that's an inconsistent tone. This, it's not like it turns to a slapstick comedy, or then it turns to a love story. It's a sci-fi, little bit of mystery thriller. And it's pretty consistent, so I don't understand the inconsistent tone. People talk about plot holes. I didn't notice much were plot holes. If there were, there's stuff that, again, you could apply to any movie dealing with whether time travel or time. I mean, hell, I understood the time stuff in here more than Avengers Endgame. Like this, I understood a lot more. I actually thought they did some neat things with it. But yeah, I thought the two lead performances did a really good job. I thought they were likable characters. I liked the concept of the story. I liked the score of the film. I thought it was well shot, well filmed. I thought the director did fine at his job. I thought it was cool to see people like Mykelti, Williamson. Alfred Molina is in it. A little bit. I mean, he's not in it too much, but he's there as the captain. And he's not like a stereotypical dickhead. He's a decent guy. Byron Mann, who I remember as Ryu in the Jean-Claude Van Damme film Street Fighter. He was in a couple straight-to-video Steven Seagal films. He's been in other stuff. He was in Crying Freeman with Martha Costos. Again, he's in it for a tiny bit, but yeah, nice to see him in there. And, I mean, I'm going to get into spoilers, but yeah, I enjoyed the film, and I don't really get the hate for it. The ending was satisfying. I will say this is one of those trailers nowadays. It's not even nowadays. Trailers even back then. I would say if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't see the trailer. Really don't see any trailers anymore because they just ruin movies. But that's not the movie's fault. That's the marketing and such. It's the movie's fault. I mean, I meant to say it's the marketing's fault, not the movie's fault. And if you think it's just a new thing, I can show you a dozen trailers back in the day that spoil the entire movie. So that's just sadly with trailers. If they do a shitty job, or even if they make a good trailer, but then the shitty job is they say too much. Again, that's not the movie's fault, and that's not the filmmakers and the actors' fault. That's the marketing fault. So I can't separate, okay, Terminator Genesis. Oh, they gave away that guy, John Connor. It's a shitty movie. It doesn't matter if they gave it away. Believe me, it's a shitty film. And of course, that's subjective. This is my subjective. But, I mean, getting in the spoilers, starting now, I liked David and Storm Reid's friendship because, like I say, he's a cop. He has some interactions with his niece. They get along well. Apparently her dad, aka his brother, had some dealings with the law in the past, but he's trying to be better. You know, she's having problems with her father, and he's like, okay, I'm going to talk to him. And, you know, they have fun, and, you know, drawings, things of that nature. One thing leads to another. He gets a call, he misses it, or he's busy. He gets another call, things are not coming in clearly. He goes and he finds his brother, his sister-in-law, and his niece murdered. And yeah, I thought the way it was shot, the way it moved with the score, it felt a bit eerie and foreboding. I mean, granted, you know they're dead. I mean, if you see the trailer, or it's just like, you know they're dead, but it still had a nice, eerie, foreboding feel to it. And I thought the lead guy did a good job, and he's just out of it. His partner's trying to help him. He's just clearly out of it. And to jump ahead and say there's no explanation, to me, they said an explanation. He prayed. But they're not forcing it down your throat. It's, you can think of whatever you want, but if you need an explanation, even the villain makes fun of it. What, you prayed for this? But it's not preachy, and it's just, I wouldn't say it's a throwaway line, but it's like a little thing he says, so if you want to think that way, you can, or you can think a dozen other ways. And like I said before, I mean, even if you don't want to go that route, oh, well, that's silly. Well, so is a flux capacitor, because they don't fucking exist, but the film is still good. So is a fucking phone booth, but it's still a good movie. Anything with either time travel or talking to time. Here's the beep boop configurator. Would that really make the film better? It's aliens. Aliens. I mean, what would it be? It's, I found this alien technology, and it's like, would that really make the film better? Not to me. To me, I'm fine with it being ambiguous and up to you. But again, if you need to find it, they do mention about he's praying for a second chance. And again, the villain even kind of mocks him for it. Oh, yeah, sure, that's okay, yeah. But again, they don't put it in your face and become preachy and hit you over the head with it, which I'm glad. Or spend 20 minutes. I liked Happy Death Day to You, the sequel to Happy Death Day, but one of the gripes I had was that they go in depth. Well, not too in depth, but they go a certain depth into explaining why she had the Groundhog Day repeat in the first. But that's funny. My friend Mykelti, I know he had a problem with. I think he liked Happy Death Day, but they don't explain why that's happening. But that was the problem he had with this. So I'll be curious to hear his thoughts on that. But if you don't like the film, it's not an attack on anybody who doesn't like the film. I know people think I do that all the time. I really don't. I'll respond to have a conversation, then people get pissed at me. Well, some do. Some don't. It's like, no, I'm not really. I don't know. Anyway, get back to the film. I liked the progression of the plot. Someone, I think I read somewhere, well, why didn't he tell her right away what was going on when he gets in contact with her and finds out she's in the past? Number one, that's a tall order to explain. Yeah, I'm from the future, and you're gonna die. Kind of a hard thing to make someone swallow, and not in that way. But also, you can understand, he is a cop, he is the uncle. You don't want to freak someone out about you and your dad, your mom go die without, when you absolutely need to. So if you have days, and then he does tell her before things go haywire. So he does tell her, so that does happen. So I read that somewhere, and I'm like, I don't get your problem. He does eventually tell her, and is able to convince her. I think what helped the film for me were the performances of the two leads, and that gave it a nice heart to it. I thought the two did a really good job. I thought the score did a good job. And the directing was fine. I didn't notice anything bad with the direction. I didn't notice schizophrenic editing or shaky camera or any other stupid stuff. It didn't have a bullshit out of the blue twist, you're like, that doesn't make sense, or a downbeat ending. I mean, again, like I said, it's predictable. Like, you can predict who the villain is fairly easily. And yeah, maybe a few more trips through the writing on that. That's one note I can give the film that they could have done. But yeah, there's a certain progression where he hasn't told her yet, but he asks her questions and about, oh, you see a car, what's the car, what does the car look like, are there license plates, and this further investigation into finding out the eventual murder of the lead guy's family, his brother's family. And certain things for time, I liked what they did. For example, there's a point where there's a drive-by and he gets shot and he's in critical condition, and he's able to contact his niece and say, you gotta do this. You got to call 911, and your dad's into some serious shit. And she's like, okay. So the future has changed, but they still die, just in a different matter and a different day. So it does show that the future has changed, and because the past, well, that's not the way I worded. The past up until the lead guy where he's at, that's changed. You change the past, you change the present. So because he told her to do that and she changed the past, there are times where he gets in this, not seizure, but certain, I thought it was like temporal time shift. So he's like dying on the table, and then this happens, and then all of a sudden he's in a car with his partner. I'm like, okay, that's a nice way of doing the time thing, because he told her she did something, the past changed. Because the past changed, that means the events leading up to it changed. Thus, the butterfly effect. He wasn't there when he drive by, something else happened. This is the butterfly effect. You change one little thing, so many things will be different. There's another good movie, The Butterfly Effect, with Ashton Kutcher. Pretty decent, underrated film. Again, that film, they don't explain how he has his power other than his dad had it. But again, they don't explain how this family has his power, but they're... but yeah, that's a film that, well, I guess it did well enough. It did have 2 direct-to-video sequels. Second one I didn't care for. Third one was alright, actually. I haven't seen it in forever, though. But anyway, get back to this. Okay, so because he changed the past, it changed all the events to the present, so he's not at the table dying, he's somewhere else. And then, oh shit, it didn't happen this day, the deaths happened a day earlier. So he has to go do this. And one thing leads to another, because I don't want to make this too long of a video. You find out that it's Mykelti Williamson's character. I could see that coming a mile away because of the options. There's really no other options. It wasn't as if you had a lot of red herrings for it. I'm thinking, well, yeah, it's Mykelti Williamson. And so, yeah, that's predictable. I'll give you that. But with that said, I'm like, yeah, that's predictable, but of the situation, that kind of makes the most sense. Because if you just had a character out of the blue, or like, of the stuff that was going on, it kind of makes sense that the guy who's closest to this guy, I was fine with it. The predictable, I was fine with it. And then the finale where it was more low-key than I thought it would be, but it kind of worked with the emotional part of the story because she's in the past. This did surprise me. I mean, I say it's predictable, but I did not expect that her father and mother still get killed, but she's able to escape. And she's going to see the lead character from the past. Meanwhile, in the present/future, our lead has been shot by Mykelti Williamson. That's when he's watching, what, you prayed? Like, come on. But it's not hammering over the head. And he's finally able to call her. And one of the things he says, actually he called earlier, he says, hey, if you save me, if you save yourself. If you save yourself, you don't save me. Pretty much telling her you gotta keep going. And hey, if you keep going, you don't save me because I'm in deep shit. So while that's happening, she does get to him, and she says what the future lead said to her, and kind of something dawns on him as he sees his partner. It's like something's up. He's able to shoot the guy. And because the past has changed, it cuts to the present/future, and Mykelti Williamson and the lead, poof, they disappear. Which makes sense because that has been erased. Because there's now a new path. And it's a nice last moment where the lead character, Jack, and Ashley, the niece, they hug, and she's crying, and he's comforting her. And then the movie ends. So again, I thought it was a good little emotional story of these two characters and certain twist of fate and second chance. It's a concept I liked. It's not as good as Frequency, but still a nice little spiritual sequel to Frequency. The score worked well. I thought it was shot fine. David and Storm Reid did a good job. It was nice to see Alfred Molina in there for a little bit. Mykelti Williamson, always been a solid actor. But I don't really understand the hate the film gets. I'm not calling it a 10 out of 10, perfect, fantastic, awesome, best movie of the year. I mean, of the list, I would probably put it number 6 in my top 10 of the year. But again, for a film that's got buried so much when it released that it didn't come out around here, got buried so much on home video that it's not even at fucking Walmart. I mean, fucking Dolph Lundgren films I've never even heard of, like Acceleration and some other movie. And like John Travolta films like Speed Kills, and there's some other fucking thing with NASCAR or something. So with John Travolta, I don't know what the fuck that is. Fuck, they had a $5 bin. They had Victor Crowley, Hatchet 4. But yet you don't have this film. I mean, this film got so buried. I'm like, this film's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's like the year or two before I was talking about Kidnap with Halle Berry. Granted, Kidnap would be a lot higher on the list than this. But there was another film. They just got fucking buried. And then this one got fucking buried. I mean, I'll take this over Us, which I didn't see the whole thing, so that's why I didn't review it. But I saw bits and pieces, and the fucking ending that looked like Hands Across America, like it's going to be a commercial for McDonald's. Fuck Us. I like Get Out, but Us. Granted, it's not fair to say I didn't see the whole thing, so that's why I didn't review it and didn't put it in my worst list. Just the stuff I saw and seemed shit. I prefer this. I did not honestly say that. It says on Wikipedia psychological horror thriller. There's no horror in this, so that's a lie. Psychological, I can't even say that too. So Wikipedia is lying on that. It's a sci-fi drama, a little bit of mystery thriller. It's not psychological horror. What the fuck? See, even Wikipedia don't give a shit about the movie. So I know I'm repeating myself, but I thought the two leads did a good job. I like the concept, I like the story. It made me feel good at the end. Satisfying ending. Liked the characters. I'll have to pick it up on... I'll probably pick it up on Amazon sometime. I'll probably wait for like Joker. Maybe later in January, because Body Parts comes out and did all 3 of them. I'll probably wait for that. That way save on shipping. But I mean, if you don't like the film, that's cool. Teach their own. I don't get it, but that's not a bad thing. I did enjoy the film. I thought it was a bit underrated, and still think it's a bit underrated. I'm glad I finally saw it. So either way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later in the next review. Bye-bye.